Hi, Elena here, your mommy tantrum specialist. And I'm back in Paris, back in my usual podcast setup with additional noise in the background. I hope my microphone will not pick it up because they're doing some construction in front of the house. So I hope it will not disturb you too much. But anyways, done is better than perfect. That's been my mantra for a long time. So let's get it rolling because this episode is important for anybody who is like I used to be, who feels like if it's for you, if you feel like you're a sacrificing mom, basically, that you're taking care of your kids, maybe even your husband, spouse, partner, more than you're taking care of yourself. And I was wearing it as a badge of honor, kind of like what a great mom I am. Look at me, everybody, how much I'm sacrificing and how much attention, energy, and time I'm pouring into my child. Look how great I am. What I didn't realize though was how it was kicking me in the butt. What it was costing me, not only on my time, energy, and attention, but what it was doing to my relationship with my daughter. And that's what I want to talk to you today, right? Why and how you should stop doing that. And it was funny because I was inspired to do this episode as we were on the move in the last 3 weeks. I was taking holidays. I was doing what I preach with all of my students and clients. Just take time off, take time for yourself and your family, which I was doing. But that meant that I was just checking in at night or sometimes throughout the day on Facebook and on my emails on my phone. And that was a little bit triggering for me because it's so easy to go down the rabbit hole, right? Once you start checking Facebook, there are so many posts that jump on you. And then I don't know how about you, but sometimes I have the tendency to just get lost in scrolling through the feed. But the nice thing was this time, and that's how I'm tying it up to the story, what we are going to talk about today. That's where my inspiration is coming from. Because I saw this eye-catching photo of 2 breakfasts. Like, this is how mom made a breakfast for her child, which was this like beautifully arranged with fruits and drink, and then the teddy bear head cut out of a sandwich bread, like so cute and rich and luxuriously looking. And next to it was, well, and this is what the mom prepared for herself. And it was just like a cup of probably cold coffee with the leftover of that sandwich bread with the cutout head missing in the middle, basically like leftovers from the kids' breakfast. And I was laughing at myself thinking like, holy moly, this used to be me 100%. And I was so proud of it. I would be the first one who would put it online to say like, look, well, I didn't do it. I was not using social media at the time, but I would feel like, yes, I should be proud of myself for sacrificing and giving the best to my daughter on my own, at my own cost, on my own behalf. But then it was very funny because not only it helps me realize I'm not doing that anymore, but I also had a lot of aha moments and the inspiration to do it as a podcast episode for you, because I was reading through the comments. There were like literally thousands of comments. And many of them were resentful moms saying like, yeah, that's what I used to do for my kids. And now I get nothing back. Or now they don't even call me. Or like, this kind of like bitter afterthought, kind of like, how do you dare, you ungrateful child? I sacrificed my life for you. And this is what you give me back. And let me know if that's you, if you have ever felt that from your parents. Have you ever been felt like you were the ungrateful brat? Like, I sacrificed so much for you. I gave you everything, what I didn't have, and you're still not appreciating it enough, and blah, 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 blah. Have you ever felt that way from your parents? Because if you did, now you know why you should stop doing that yourself, because this is part of now coming back to my point and what this entire podcast is about. This is a part of intergenerational trauma. This is what we give from generation to generation. On one hand, we receive this pattern from our parents, like, yes, and this expectation, this cultural norm, like, yes, mothers should be sacrificing for their kids. This is the ideal. This is what we want to put on pedestal as the ideal supermom. But at the same time, you see the side effect. You see what it costs them, parents who do that. It's that resentment. It's like thinking like, because I gave you so much, there's an expectation you should give me back. So it's actually not coming out of unconditional love. It's very conditional and kind of like calculating, because I raised you, I spent so much time, so now I expect you start paying back. Now, is that what you want your kids to feel 5, 15, 25 years from now? Is it the case? Well, if not, then this episode is for you. I'm going to share with you, already started sharing a little bit why you want to stop doing that. We'll talk about that even more, but also how. Because if it was easy, then knowing that you want to stop it would be enough, right? You would be like, okay, so now I'm good, I will stop doing that, thank you very much, and you go on your own. But it's not always so easy, right? So that's what we are going to talk about today. Then you're in the right place. Let's talk about that unconditional love and the giving, as I mentioned, right? Because you want to do it because you love your kids, and I get it. Like, that's why I was doing it, right? Not only because it's the expectation and I wanted to think for myself, okay, I'm good enough mom, but it was also my expression of my love for her, right? Makes sense? That I was kind of like measuring by how much I was sacrificing, how much I was giving to her. I thought that was the proper way of how to show my love to her, right? Because in my mind, I was judging also everybody else, not just myself, but everybody else around me, all the parents, of how much they love and care about their kids by how much they are sacrificing for them. Okay. And I don't want to throw now all the cases in one basket. Like, maybe you're sacrificing, there can be different levels of sacrifice and different areas where you feel like you're sacrificing for your kids. And I get it that every generation of parents want to do for their kids what they didn't have. They want them to do better, right? So like, for example, we spent an incredible amount of money on putting my daughter in a private school. For different reasons. We are expatriate family, and it was like about languages and cultural integration, everything. But I realized it was not just out of our unconditional love and us as parents wanting to do the best for our kid. It was also part of this going overboard, in a way that when I was thinking about investing money in my own education, in my continued, because I keep taking like therapy classes and like certifications to improve also who I am professionally, how I help women that I work with. I was comparing the price and I was thinking like, this is too expensive. I cannot spend that money because like, okay, we have some money, but if I spend like, this is incredible amount, I can't do that. I can't spend that on me. Only until I realized, like, holy moly, we are actually spending more on my daughter than on me. Like, where is this balance, right? Where do you hit the right balance? And how do you do it in a way that you're not resentful afterwards? Because I didn't want to come back to my daughter 20 years later to tell her, and now you have to become a lawyer or a doctor or something like, or a diplomat to make sure we get return on our investment. Otherwise, I sacrificed my own education and profession for nothing. Like, I don't want to tie that, right? You want to give your love, but unconditionally, with no small print at the end of the contract, like, you have to pay back, right? But how do you do that? So step number 1 is the awareness. That's what we are doing now. I'm shining light of your attention on these cases when you are consciously or without even thinking about it, giving to your kids more than you're actually ready to do. And the question here is even to go deeper. Would you give it to them? Would you still do it? Would you still give your energy, attention, love, money, even if you knew there was no payback for you? Even if you had nothing back? Would you still pay for that education even if you knew your child will decide to be a homeless artist? because it's their choice, not because they don't like whatever, but because they want to live that way. They want to live their life that way. Would you still do that? Would you give your child so much time and attention and do everything for them now, even if you knew they're going to get married and they will start calling you only like once a month or once a year? You will see them once a year for one day. Maybe it's a family event and that will be it. Would you still give them everything today? Or do you expect any payback? Because that's what will inform you why you're doing what you do. And if it's really unconditional love without any conditions, without anything, wanting anything back, without trying to control any outcome, without trying to control how your kids are going to show up, how they're going to be later on. I know this is a tough one, right? And if I ruffle some feathers, might be. But just as a food for thought, this is really the first most important step at the beginning, is to realize where am I sacrificing and why I'm doing it. Because then second step is to look underneath the surface. And in mental fitness, we call it looking for the saboteurs, like the voices in your head that at some point in your life, and not going into details like how and why and what happened in your past, how they got there, but we all have those voices in your head. And I talk about it like more in my programs and everything. But if you think about it, like that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough unless you sacrifice for your kids. Is that the voice of your mom that you accepted as yours now? Who is talking there? And realize what that voice is doing to you. Often, in again, the mental fitness speak, this boils down to people pleaser, like the pleaser saboteur. And that's defined by the quid pro quo exchange. In any relationship, and you can think about it, where in any relationship you're showing up as a pleaser, trying to give without even people asking for anything. You're anticipating, empathizing in advance, because empathy is actually a very strong quality, good quality of many people pleasers. But where that quality is taken overboard is that you're giving to people even before they ask, or even without them wanting or realizing. And then you feel resentful because you're like, I'm the one who's just giving and the other one is only taking and there's nothing coming back to me. So it's their fault. Na, na, ni, na, na, my daughter would say. It's the fault of your pleaser here in your head, right? Because the pleaser voice tells you, if I keep giving, maybe hopefully there will be some attention coming back to me. But if it doesn't, that's where the resentment grows. You feel like you're the one who's giving more than you're ready to do, because that's what's supposed to be. That's what your role is. That's what you're supposed to be doing. But this is what it's costing you, back to that resentment. And now we don't even have to talk about your kids, but have a look at all of your other relationships with your friends, with your colleagues, bosses, your spouse. Where is it that you are not expressing openly your needs, when you are not asking for what you need, and you kind of wait, hope, pray for the others to catch it, because you're so good at catching their needs and meeting them even before they know it? So then you are expecting them to do the same back without agreeing on that, without any communication. And then you start communicating only when it's too late, when you're already angry, because you see that it's only you who's cleaning up your home. And you're kind of expecting, well, at least you cannot see that the sink is dirty from your like shaved face. Like you cannot even clean that up after yourself. And you don't have the idea to think that I'm taking care of the kids like 24/7, that maybe I would like to have the Sunday afternoon off and you can take care of the kid. Like you didn't think that it would be appropriate? Well, no. If you don't communicate, if you don't openly say what you need, how can you expect others to read your mind? Why do you feel resentful of them just taking if you just keep giving without any agreement, no communication? Do they even want it, what you're giving them? I once worked with a woman who felt like this was going on in all of her relationships, that she was giving, and she was giving gifts, she was giving attention, she was planning all the the dates, all the trips. And then she was thinking, yeah, but they never call me back. Like they never call me first. They never offer anything to me first. And she felt used. And I'm like, yeah, but can you blame them? Because often the people pleasers, they attract the narcissists, right? Like the people who love that attention, who love just getting and bathe in the sunlight and energy and care of others. Have you noticed? Happened to you too? So coming back to my point, the second step, after you realize what's going on, that you are actually giving out more than you're ready to, second step was to check what voices are underneath. Often there's a pleaser. Often that's also mixed up with the victim, that you feel like, okay, I get it. I don't want to take care of my kids so much or spoil my kids so much, but what else can I do? Like it's a 1-year-old, 2-year-old. Of course, I'll keep making breakfast, lunches, dinners, cook from scratch, go to play groups, and I don't know what. I'm not saying you should stop doing that and leave your child hungry and dirty and naked. No. But where is it? Like start asking for what you need. And rather than the victim throwing the hands in the air saying, I cannot do anything, well, what if you could? And I get it, busy moms, and I work with lots of divorced or single parents, with even on top with kids with disabilities, or themselves, they have disabilities physically, mentally, whatever. I've seen it all. It works for them too. If once you start asking the right questions to your brain, really, like, and stop complaining like I'm the victim, helpless, hands in the air, I can't do anything. Once you start asking your smart brain the question, well, how could I? What is the one small, easy thing that I could be doing today for myself to reward myself? Or how is it that I can start stepping back a little bit and giving more independence to my kids, to my partner, to take over more responsibility? How could I? How could I do that today? One small step. What can I do today to get there? Okay. Nothing overwhelming, not like, don't blame me if you have a fight with your husband tonight. But what is it? One small, tiny step where you could say, before you get angry, before you get resentful, and you kind of like burst it out because you're so frustrated, before it gets to that point, what is that first moment when you notice, like, this doesn't sit with me, that you can already tell the other person, like, okay, this is above and beyond where I want to go. Can you do it, or can you pick it up? Or just letting you know, this is what I need and this is what I would like to happen. Okay, before it gets that far that you get angry and frustrated and resentful. Okay, the sooner you can start communicating, the sooner you can start asking for what you need, the sooner you start asking yourself the question, what can I do for myself? Where can I start saying no to others and yes to myself? The sooner you do it, the better, the more wiggle time, the more wiggle room you will have to improve the situation, de-escalate your anger, frustration, and resentment before it gets like, before you have to explode. Because I don't know about you, but this was one of the biggest reasons, the biggest causes why I realized, after I like finally saw it after I woke up, this was one of the biggest reasons why I was the yelling mom, why I was momzilla. Because I felt like the limits of my daughter had no limits. Basically, her needs had no limits. If she could have me 24/7, like hugging, kissing, just giving her my attention, reading books and everything, like she would have me 24/7. And I felt resentful towards her because I was like, how come you don't understand? Like, mommy needs time for herself. But duh, of course. Only then I realized, well, it's kind of normal and it's good. You want your child to be attached. But how do you detach, at least for a while, gently, lovingly, to put that oxygen mask first, as everybody keeps saying about the self-care? Because if you don't, that's the risk, right? You grow into a resentful momzilla. That's why I thought it was so important to bring it up in this podcast episode today, because this was one of the biggest things that was kicking me in the butt. And I thought I couldn't do anything about it. I thought that in order to feel like I'm a good mom, I have to sacrifice. And this is just part of being a mom. And I thought I will have to just suffer through the next 15, 18 years of my life. Just kind of putting myself at the bottom of the list. But when you see how much it's costing you, and that it actually even costs you on the most important relationships of your life, not just the relationship with your kids, because they will hate making you feel resentful. Once they get more awareness, they will realize, like you did, like when I asked you if you ever felt that your parents were like blaming you for their sacrifices that you didn't even know about. Do you want your kids to feel that way too? Do you want your husband to feel your resentment? Can you see what it's doing, what damage it's doing on your relationship? And more importantly, it's damaging the relationship with yourself, right? What is it? What is that part of you that believes you're not worth it, that you can't take care of yourself? Where is that coming from? And isn't it high time that you start working on it, that you are worthy no matter what? How do you want to be a good role model for your kids, especially if you have daughters, but of course also for your sons? But how do you want to teach them what a self-worth is if you don't practice it yourself? Because you know that more than anything we say, they watch what we do. They see you, how you watch yourself in the mirror. They see what you eat, how you treat yourself, how you take time to sit down and eat a proper meal. They see it. And you are giving them your patterns will be theirs when they grow up. In the same way how you got the patterns of your parents. So what do you want to teach them about self-worth? This is why this work is so important. This is why it goes beyond stopping yelling at your kids and being a nice, calm mom. It goes beyond. You are teaching them how you want them to be, how you want them to show up in the world. And how much or how little trauma, this intergenerational trauma, these patterns, these voices in their head, how much of that you want them to have when they grow up. Okay. This is why it matters so much. And this is why this work is so urgent. I meet so many women who at first, when they are still scratching the surface for parenting techniques and just help me make my child like obey me and stop saying no and start listening to me. And they are comparing what they find. They are comparing the courses based on the price and based on how long it takes. And I'm when I meet with them, I'm telling them, no, let's stop this. What we are talking about, it goes much deeper. And there's much more urgency and time as well. Because how fast are your kids growing? How much time do you still have to influence them in any way? By your own example, not by some parenting scripts on how you want to manipulate them. Your time is ticking with your kids. And I love to say that it's never too late, because I worked with parents of teenagers as well. And it was already, they thought it's like, oh my God, it's so far beyond. You can still correct that. It's never too late. But the sooner you start, the more wiggle room you have and the more time to repair and reconnect. More importantly, the more time there is left for you to reconnect with yourself and feel like you're not a victim of your life. You're not the victim of being a mom, but that you live your best life and you're happy about it. And you can look your kids in their eyes and to make them feel like, yeah, being a mom is the best thing that ever happened. And mean it, without the background thought like, oh, but it's so difficult or it cost me so much. Without any of that. Is that what you would like to? If so, then I would really invite you to start being conscious about your choices and communicating your needs. And if you want to take it to the next level and really have that transformation and really become a mom who is trauma-free, intergenerational patterns free, who's making her decisions based on what she wants, based on what her kids need, not based on whatever stuff happened in the past, then let me know. We can connect and see if you would be a great fit for my group program or for one-to-one. I can help you. So either way, I hope this was useful for you. Let me know, either review, like make a review or comment about this podcast episode. Let me know how it helped you, what you realized. And I'll look forward to connecting next week. Take care, Supermom.